Listen, I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now, because what just went down on SportsCenter regarding Quentin Grimes accepting his qualifying offer with Philadelphia is going to completely reshape how you think about the Lakers' trade deadline strategy, and I'm not talking about some distant hypothetical scenario that might happen if the stars align perfectly. This is real. This is happening. And when Brian Windhorst started connecting the dots between Grimes' contract situation, Austin Reeves' upcoming extension talks, and how the Lakers could potentially engineer a roster transformation that sets them up for the next decade, I literally had to pause my coffee and rewind the segment because the implications are so massive that this could be the defining moment that separates championship contention from mediocrity. So, I'm watching SportsCenter right as they're breaking down the Sixers' restricted free agency situation, and suddenly, the entire conversation pivots to what this means for teams around the league who've been monitoring Grimes all summer. And you could feel the energy in that studio completely shift, because this isn't just another player accepting a qualifying offer to bet on himself. This is a 25-year-old wing who just averaged nearly 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists with Philadelphia in limited action, who's now positioned himself to become an unrestricted free agent next summer, while simultaneously making himself available for trade to contending teams at the deadline. That combination of circumstances creates the exact kind of opportunity that smart front offices like the Lakers have been waiting for. Let me paint you the complete picture of what really transpired during this segment, because the surface-level player signs qualifying offer headline that you're seeing everywhere completely misses the strategic chess match happening behind the scene, the roster construction philosophy that could define the Lakers' championship window, and the uncomfortable truth about whether Austin Reeves is actually the best long-term fit next to Luka Doncic, or whether a cheaper, more athletic, more defensively versatile option might unlock something special. Stephen A. Smith was going absolutely nuclear during this breakdown. And when Stephen A. gets this animated about roster construction rather than just player drama, you know we're in uncharted territory where legitimate championship-altering decisions are being made. Here's the foundational context that Kendrick Perkins established right at the opening, and this is absolutely crucial for understanding why the Grimes situation matters so much for Los Angeles specifically. Grimes and Philadelphia couldn't come to terms on a long-term extension despite multiple proposals being floated. The Sixers reportedly offered something in the neighborhood of 3 years, $39 million, and they even tried to get him to waive the no-trade clause that automatically comes with signing the qualifying offer by offering an extra $100,000. But Grimes said no to everything because he wants control over his destination if he gets moved at the deadline. And more importantly, he wants to bet on himself for 1 year and then hit unrestricted free agency where he can choose his own destiny. But here's where the Lakers angle becomes absolutely fascinating. And this is what had the entire SportsCenter panel debating for a solid 10 minutes. The no-trade clause sounds like a roadblock to any mid-season deal, but in reality, it's actually an advantage for teams like the Lakers, who Grimes would genuinely want to play for. The only teams that will trade for him are teams that know he's willing to sign there long-term, which means contenders with cap space and championship infrastructure. That's Los Angeles. That's exactly what the Lakers represent. A franchise with Luka Doncic, LeBron James still performing at elite levels, a supporting cast that's getting better, and a pathway to legitimate title contention. The statistical profile that Bobby Marks pulled up on screen was legitimately eye-opening when you see the full progression. On the season as a whole, Grimes averaged 15 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. Solid starter numbers for a young wing, but then you isolate just his Philadelphia stint after getting traded from Dallas, and suddenly the numbers explode to 21.9 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.5 steals, and half a block per game. Those aren't just good numbers. Those are borderline all-star production from a 25-year-old who's still improving. The question that had the panel split was whether that performance represents who Grimes actually is, or whether it was an unsustainable hot streak fueled by opportunity on an injury-decimated Sixers roster. Richard Jefferson made this brilliant point about sample size and context that I thought perfectly captured the evaluation challenge. When a player goes from averaging 11 points for his career to suddenly exploding for 22 points, he's 22 points in limited action with a new team, you have to ask whether you're seeing genuine breakout or statistical noise. But here's what convinced Jefferson that Grimes might actually be legit. He didn't just score more, he became more efficient. He shot 46% from the field, maintained his 37-38% three-point shooting on increased volume, and showed legitimate playmaking vision with those 5 assists per game. That's not just a guy getting more touches and jacking up shots. That's a player who elevated every aspect of his game when given responsibility. The Austin Reeves comparison became the elephant in the room that nobody wanted to address directly until Max Kellerman just came out and said it. If you're the Lakers and you could turn Austin Reeves into another piece while simultaneously acquiring Quentin Grimes for significantly less money, do you pull that trigger? The hypothetical trade scenario that got floated during the segment was fascinating. Minnesota has apparently expressed interest in Reeves, and they might be willing to part, with Jaden McDaniels in the right deal. So theoretically, you could flip Reeves for McDaniels, then package Rui Hachimura or Dalton Connect in a separate deal to acquire Grimes from Philadelphia. Now let me walk you through why this isn't just fantasy basketball nonsense, but actually makes strategic sense from multiple angles. Your starting 5 becomes Luka Doncic, Quentin Grimes, Jaden McDaniels, LeBron James, and DeAndre Ayton. Think about what that lineup gives you. Luka as your primary creator and offensive engine, Grimes as your secondary shot creator and playmaker, who can also space the floor at 37% from 3 on real volume. McDaniels as your elite 3-and-D wing who can guard positions 1-4 with his 6'9" frame, LeBron still doing LeBron things, and Ayton providing rim protection and lob threat. That's shooting, defense, athleticism, size, versatility, and multiple guys who can create offense when the play breaks down. But here's where the long-term thinking becomes really compelling, and this is what had Stephen A. getting genuinely excited about the organizational trajectory. 4 out of those 5 starters would be under 27 years old entering next season if LeBron retires. Grimes is 25, McDaniels is 25, Luka is 27, Ayton is in that same age range. You're not just building for one championship run, you're potentially constructing a core that could contend for 5 to 10 years, depending on how contracts align and whether guys continue developing. All you'd need to do is replace LeBron's production with someone like Jake LaRavia or Ndudu stepping into a larger role, and suddenly you've got a sustainable championship contender in the post-LeBron era. The financial comparison is where this gets really interesting for Lakers fans who understand the new CBA restriction. Austin Reeves is going to command something in the $35 million per year range based on current market projection. Quentin Grimes, coming off a qualifying offer year where he proves he can be a 20-point scorer, is probably looking at $25 million annually. That's $10 million in cap savings that you could redirect toward filling out the bench or making another upgrade. And if Grimes gives you 80% of Reeves' offensive production while being significantly better defensively and more athletic, isn't that the definition of addition by subtraction? But let's address the uncomfortable question that the panel kept dancing around. Is Quentin Grimes actually that guy? Or are we projecting based on limited sample size? His career average is 10.5 points per game. The closest he came to sustained high-level production was 11 points per game during his best Knicks season. So there's legitimate skepticism about whether the Philadelphia explosion represents his true talent level, or whether he's closer to being a 15-point-per-game complementary piece rather than a legitimate second option. Here's what really emerged from the entire SportsCenter coverage that I think Lakers fans need to wrestle with. This isn't just about Quentin Grimes versus Austin Reeves in isolation. This is about organizational philosophy, and whether you build through incremental improvements or whether you take calculated risks on high-upside players whose timelines align better with your franchise cornerstone. Grimes accepting the qualifying offer didn't just make him available, it made him the exact kind of asset that championship teams target at the deadline when they're looking for that final piece without sacrificing long-term flexibility. The Lakers should absolutely be making calls.